Welcome back to the shop. So today we're going to look at how you start a hand plane working. So one of the topics I see discussed a lot is a new woodworker, or a new hand plane user anyhow, has problems getting their hand plane to work. Now, obviously to work means taking shavings. So we're going to look at that, and I'm going to give you some advice of how I get my hand plane started in creating a shaving. The first thing I want to talk about though is how you should hold a hand plane. In front of me here are the different sizes you'll find of a smoothing plane. Now if you're going to start using a hand plane, typically you're going to start using the hand plane to smooth. Most woodworkers today go to Home Depot or some big box store and they buy surface four-sided wood. So they want something they can use to smooth those surfaces. So the best smoother plane to use to smooth obviously is a smoothing plane. Now a lot of advice you'll get out there is to go find a number 5 size, which is a jack plane. And we hear the jack plane is a jack of all trades. That's the one you want. Well, I disagree with that, because even though a number 5 can be used for smoothing, it's not the best for smoothing, which makes it a little bit harder to learn. So I suggest you start with a number 4 or a number 3. Now, actually, if you start with any of these smoothers, it's still going to be better than that number 5 for smoothing. So let's talk about that, and let's talk about how that works. So the first thing we want to do is figure out how we want to hold our hand plane. And how we're going to hold our hand plane depends on a couple of different things. Number 1, how big the plane is. And number 2, what's comfortable for you. So there's no right or wrong way, really, within reason, of how you hold a hand plane. Now remember, a hand plane isn't a baseball bat, right? You don't have to worry about taking a wild swing and taking out the second baseman because the bat slipped out of your hand. This is a hand plane. All you need to do is hold on it. If you've ever shot bow, we know that to improve accuracy, you loosen the grip. A death grip on a bow and arrow will affect accuracy. So the same thing happens here. So this is a number 1 size plane. So obviously you're not going to put fingers in there. So we hold it like a block plane. Now, I say that as if I automatically think you automatically know how to hold a block plane. So I did a whole video on the number 1 plane that you can watch, but basically it's just like that. Just cradle it in your arm and in your hand, and let your hand fit in there. Find something that's comfortable for you to do it. If it's comfortable and it works, it's not wrong. Now here's a number 2 size. This happens to be a 407 Sargent, same as this Stanley. You can see it's fairly bit bigger than the number 1. But there's no way I'm going to get 4 fingers in there. But I can fit 3. But to be honest with you, it's pretty crowded up there. So typically when I use a 3, I hold it like that. Now, is that right or wrong? Yes and no. It's right for me. If you can put 3 in there and that's comfortable, that's what you do. Find a way that's comfortable. Here's a number 3 size, which just happens to be a 408 Sargent. I can put 3 fingers through there easily. My other finger sticks out there. That's how I use it. Number 4 size. This is a keen cutter, but it's a bedrock style keen cutter. And again, can I get 4 fingers in there? Yeah, but when I drive that 4th finger in there, it kind of forces my hand up, so it's not comfortable. So this is my grip for a number 4 plane. It's comfortable, and to be honest with you, until I started this video, I never really knew how I did it, because I just grabbed it and I knew I wanted to be comfortable, so that's what I did. This is a 4.5 size. It's actually a 4.5 bedrock. Bigger tote. I can put 4 in there. But to be honest with you, I still don't usually hold it like this. I usually still have 1 finger. Remember, we're guiding this hand plane through a piece of wood. And this up here kind of helps me do that. So again, there's really no right or way wrong. Find your way. Find the way that makes holding that plane comfortable. And remember, it's not a death grip. I gotta get held on that. You just need to be able to push. And as long as you can push, that's all you need to do. So and the next thing is, how do I start this in the wood? So I'm going to tell you, when you're starting, you should be able to do this. I'm not planing anything. Now, where is that blade? I have no idea. I didn't look. Okay, so let's take a look. Well, it doesn't matter where it is at this point. All you need to know is that it's above the piece of wood. You will get to the point where you can judge it by looking at it and seeing where it needs to be. And also, if you're just going to try this out, try it on a piece of nice, clear piece of wood. Like, even this one isn't the best. It's got knots here, but I'm okay with that. Now, what I want to do is I want to lower this blade just a little. And I want to find out where. Now, again, the way I'm going to show you seems to take a long time. But you will get to the point where you can do this in a matter of seconds, because you'll know how it feels before it starts to catch. And you just want that to catch, right? You don't want to be making shavings yet, because you still, oh, there it is. You see those little shavings in that right hand corner? It just started to come out. Now that's telling me that my blade needs to be adjusted. So I'm going to, on this particular plane, I am going to move that toward the side where that shaving started to come out. Now it's coming out the other side. Apparently I went too far. I'll move it back. Now, a couple of things could be happening here. So, I could either have my blade way out of whack, or there could be a high spot in the wood on this side. I don't know yet. But all I know is I've started to make shavings. And again, you're thinking, wow, that's going to take a long time. But once I get to know what I'm doing here, it's not going to take a long time. So how am I going to get a good flat, wide piece of shavings? Well, keep in mind, getting a good wide piece of shavings has more to do with the piece of wood than the hand plane even. Although the hand plane obviously is important, It needs to be tuned correctly. The blade needs to be sharp. It needs to be square and all of that. But this is why I said a smoothing plane is better to learn on. So think about this. Think about there's a high spot right there. So when you're planing along and that plane hits that high spot, what's going to happen? It's going to pull your blade up out of that wood. And you're not going to get shavings anymore. And you're going to be all wondering why. So why is a smoother better than a jack? Well, it's shorter. So it will take that down quicker, that high spot down quicker. And then you get more of a space where you can continue to smooth. Now notice I'm also holding my plane at an angle. Now do you have to? No, you don't have to. But I recommend that you try it that way first. And once you get to do that, then you can start going straighter when it is right to do. Now if you're coming through this knot, you're going to want to turn that sideways to get that shearing action. And then you notice I'm lowering that blade a little bit at a time. And you notice my piece of wood here seems to have a lower spot that lets me take this 9 inches and get that, but this upper end seems to be higher. So it's pulling me out of the cut, which is fine. That's why you smooth it and you continue. And you have to get that board smooth in order to get that full width. So when you get on an instructional video and such, and you see the guys making a full width shavings, he didn't just start doing that, right? It took him work to get there. And if you after a while, if you get to the point where you're only taking shavings on one side, then you know you're not square, and you can adjust it. But take it a little at a time. And it will change. You're going to have to play with it until you get that piece of wood flat. And we're getting pretty close, it looks like. Now that knot is going to kind of screw me up. Probably should have grabbed a better piece of wood. But you see, it's beginning to work. And if you just keep at that, you'll get to the point where you can smooth that piece of wood. You can get that shavings, but don't, I mean, this isn't what you're looking for, right? This is what you're looking for. So get that piece smooth, and it will help you get it to where you want to be. And the other piece of advice, especially when you're using a vintage plane, but this goes for everything. If you look and you watch this, right? So you noticed I've got some play here. Matter of fact, this plane has quite a bit, which you get used to if you're going to run vintage planes. It's okay. So if I wanted to back this up, I would have to back this up. Okay. Oh, I want to go more. I'm still hitting. For whatever reason I'm doing this, I move it back. Now, in order to move that forward again, in order to plane, I gotta tighten that up. I gotta snug that. Otherwise, when I plane, it's going to push the blade backwards and take up that slop on its own. but you take it up. And again, just down a little. So another piece of advice is keep that sole waxed. You'll be amazed at how much difference a wax sole makes in the ease of pushing a plane. So keep it waxed or keep it oiled. Paul Sellers recommends a 3-in-1 oil. He puts a rag stuffed in and sticking out of a can and keeps the oil on that and just rubs the plane over it. I've tried that. It works. I tend to like this Johnson's Paste Wax, and I got lucky, and I bought this brand new can like just a couple of weeks before everyone started figuring out they were going out of business. So I got it at a normal price. But any kind of wax will do pretty much. And a lot of guys will take a candle. Just rub a candle on it. It doesn't matter what you do to lubricate it. Just lubricate the sole of the plane. You'll find that it will work substantially better for you. So I went and I grabbed another piece of wood. And this is actually a different hand plane, but it's still a number 4 size. And so this isn't a very good piece to be smoothing with either, but I wanted to show you. So you can't expect to take this piece of wood right here with all of these saw marks and stuff and get a full width shaver. Not until you get rid of all of them and get it down smooth. But what I'm taking is shavings that's perfectly fine for this piece of wood. And as you can see, as more of those marks go away, the better the shaving looks. So just keep that in mind, that it's not just about the hand plane. It's not just about you, and it's not just about the piece of wood. All of those things need to work together. And it's up to you to figure out how they work together. So there's different things that make a difference here. Again, you see I have that set fairly close, but not extremely close, right? Now, I might get smoother shavings if I move that closer to the end. I might get better shavings if I moved it away. I won't know unless I try. Now, I don't think moving it away will work. And this one seems to be working pretty well for this piece of wood. But again, how tight your mouth is somewhat important, but not extremely important, especially if you're already getting shavings like this. You don't need a tight mouth to do this. If it was an extremely difficult piece of wood with difficult grain, and I'm not talking about a knot is a knot and it's hard and it sucks trying to plane them. But when the grain is difficult, moving in different directions, that's when the closed mouth works better. And again, works better. And as you've probably heard, sharp fixes everything. So keep your blade sharp. And other than that, just find out what works for you. It gets frustrating, I understand, at the beginning, but don't let it get you down. Just have fun with it. Go out and try different things. Move that chip breaker closer to the edge. Move it further away. And you'll do that sometimes. You get a piece of wood, you just can't make it plane for some reason. And you have to kind of figure out what that piece of wood wants and what that plane wants. And if I take this plane and this plane and try to plane this piece of wood, it might react different. I may need to set this chip breaker a little bit different than this one. You just never know. And you won't know until you try it. So it's a little hard to get this in a single take. So I want to go through this process again, step by step. So first thing we're going to do is set the plane down. And oh, it's got a catch. I can feel it. I don't have to start planing, so I'm going to back this up. So I just turn this thing backwards until I'm not catched anymore. No catch. So take up the slack and slowly start putting it down. Now I'm going to intentionally move this off center just a little, just to kind of show what we're going to do here. And I'm just turning like 1/8 of a turn every time I move my plane forward. So now I got shavings. You can see them there, I hope. So I know I'm getting close. And notice when I move that again, after I hit shavings, I move it. It raises that part of the blade, so now I'm above the sole again, and I'm not getting shavings. So now I'm getting shavings. I went a little too deep, so now I'm going to back it up again. So I got to take up that slack, back it up, and then take the slack out. Now remember, this piece of wood isn't flat, and obviously it hasn't been roughed in yet. Let's turn it over. We should have done that to start with. There we go, there's our first shavings. Needs to go a little bit that way. Nice shavings out of the center. That's what we're looking for. Little teeny bit at a time. It's gotten even better. It's still out of the center, which is a good thing. Now, remember, the more you skew your plane, the less likely you are to get a full width shavings. Full width, it may be full width, but it's not going to look it because when I turn it, I shorten the distance to my blade. This is what you want. It doesn't get better. It takes practice, but you'll get there. So again, start high, go down very slow, adjust as you go, and then have fun with it. I hope this helps. I'm going to try to do some more of these. I would like some comments. You know, what do you want to see? What are you having problems with? How can I help? I'm not doing as much woodworking as I did when I was younger. And for a long time, I did a lot of plane restoration. So I've gone through this process that I showed you a lot. But I understand I still have a lot to learn. I learn something almost every day I come to the shop. And if I stop learning, I'll probably stop coming to the shop. So let me know what you think. Let me know how I can help. If you want to see a video, give me some ideas. I'm glad to do whatever I can do, especially this time of year. It's pretty freaking cold here. I wasn't even sure I was going to heat my shop this morning, but I decided to. It's still a little chilly in here, but we got her done. So, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.